This is Agriculture for Life, a program that explores different farming practices in Africa and their impact on food security for the population of the continent.
Welcome, my name is Geoffrey Onditi. In 2012, World Food Day was celebrated with a special theme, the importance of agricultural cooperatives in feeding the world. 2 years on, the theme is still relevant in African farming. But why should farmers join together in producer groups or cooperatives rather than working as individuals? One reason is that for small-scale farmers to enter commercial agriculture, growing crops for sale rather than to eat is often difficult if they work on their own. Being part of a group can give farmers access to information, technical support and finance, all of which they will need to develop a successful agricultural business. Eastern Africa Farmers Federation is promoting the East Africa Community Cooperative Societies Bill that seeks to ensure farmers yield maximum profits for their produce. Stephen Mushiri is the Eastern Africa Farmers Federation Chief Executive Officer, and tonight he tells us more about the need for unity among farmers and even other business people. For comments or questions, join us on our KBC English Service Facebook fan page.
This is KBC English Service.
But first here, Mshiri reveals the role smallholder farmers play in ensuring food security in East Africa.
Farmers collectively are the largest investors, and farmers need to understand that they're actually the largest investors in agriculture is not the big companies that we see on the roads, on the roadsides, or the big companies that are coming internationally here. We're the largest investors in agriculture. And as a result, we should take up that opportunity to actually position ourselves as far as any market is concerned. I have visited farmers in other regions. I visited Germany to visit some farmers. And I was surprised or excited, that I could actually see farmers agreeing on, setting prices, saying we are producing at this cost, we should mark up at this cost. They're actually agreeing on what should be the minimum price for a certain commodity, meaning that they are going to be in business. And when you look at East Africa and Africa in general, the decision is actually made by a trader, it's made by a middleman. The farmer has no power as far as the market is concerned. And we are saying we need to turn this around. It's not going to be easy, but we know that within our membership, which comprises over 20 million members, we have associations, we have cooperatives, we have commodity organizations that are actually engaged in business. We can see the cooperative, the milk cooperatives, the horticulture associations, the livestock associations are actually participating in business. They're not only producing, they are processing, they are packing, and they are selling. Okay, even some of them have gone to the extent in Ethiopia to put together banks where farmers can actually access credit. They have put together insurance companies which can actually insure the farmers' crop and livestock. And we are saying it's not supposed to be any different in Kenya or in any other region in East Africa. One of the things that we've actually done is that we are promoting the East Africa Community Cooperative Societies Bill. The East Africa community, we have 5 countries, and each country has comparative advantage. The countries have come together to integrate. When you look at the economies of these countries, the backbone is agriculture. Agriculture employs 70% of the people in this region. But when you look at the entire process up to where we've reached, we are now discussing the monetary union. It is by and large excluded the participation of small and medium-scale enterprises, whether in agriculture or otherwise. The discussion has centered around politicians and the political class and their technical advisors. And we're actually saying that when you look at even all the laws and the bills that have actually been put forward, they've been top-down, over almost 100% of them. It's government to government, more or less. And we are saying it's important that if the platform around which the EAC is put together is supposed to be people-centered and private sector-driven, we need to see people being more proactive and active as far as participating in the integration process is concerned. We're harmonizing laws, we're harmonizing policies, we're harmonizing procedures. We are missing out in that discussion.
After independence in the East African countries of Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania, cooperatives were the major source of wealth for millions of farmers. For many years, cooperatives have been at the mercy of politicians who use them as a ladder to enrich themselves and later weakening them. This means a loss of livelihood for farmers.
The reason why they fell apart is because they were viewed as by governments then as competition. And since cooperatives are recognized by law as an act of parliament, parliamentarians in the entire region meddled a bit with the law and hence provided space for government to actually interfere with the running of cooperatives. That is why you find cooperatives have very poor leadership, because the leadership was sucking up to the political class, In the process, it attracted poor managers, and hence a lot of them were plundered and a lot of them lost out. And hence, as a result, farmers and the members of the cooperatives actually lost out big time. But of the last 10 years, we've actually seen reemergence of cooperatives. We are calling them like new order kind of cooperatives, where actually members have actually a lot of say in the management and running of cooperatives. And we actually said we need to take this a notch higher. How can we leverage on the successes of the cooperatives in this region, so that we have something or a law or an environment that actually provides for these cooperatives to actually come together, merge, form joint ventures, pool resources together, get into joint business kind of arrangements. And our members said, why don't we pursue a law, a common law, that will ensure that there's harmonization of the national cooperative laws, that will ensure that there's autonomy and independence of these particular cooperatives, but more so that these cooperatives can start speaking to each other across the borders, and in different, kind of cooperatives, because we're not coming in just for the farmers. The entry point is just through the farming community. But you're saying that this law is going to cover for the matatus, is going to cover for the SACCOs, is going to, for the chamas, and, everybody, that you can actually invest in the region.
This is KBC English Service.
If you look at the current trend of agriculture, Africa is the center of investment now. It's been seen as the only region that is actually growing. As far the economy is actually growing. So there's a lot of resources, a lot of funding, a lot of interest, foreign direct investment. Big companies are actually coming to invest here in this region. And we're actually saying farmers are the largest investors. How can we use the policy environment to actually put together a law that will bring us together to pool funds? Let farmers invest in Tanzania. Let's not have this big, Asian and so on coming to invest. Yet we can actually have pool resources to also actually invest. That's the reasoning around the law. And what you're actually saying is that when cooperatives start speaking to each other across the boundaries, across the borders, then they'll start asking questions. Why are we having NTBs? Why is this policy process slow? Why are we not harmonizing taxes? Why are we not ensuring that these standards fit our experiences? Because when you look at some figures that I have for 2012 from the Daily Nation, they said that only 4.5 million people had crossed any border within the East Africa community. Yet
just 4 million.
4 million.
And the population is huge.
136 million.
Yes.
And over 85 million are adults. So that tells you that people don't either know what is happening across the region. There's lack of information. Governments are not done enough to empower their people to know where there are opportunities across the borders. And we are saying probably, and we feel that, if you have this law that is going to enhance communication between small and medium enterprises in agriculture or otherwise, that discussion will start happening at the regional level. We'll actually start seeing, the governments that have not complied with the treaty, the EAC treaty, we'll start having the masses actually asking, why are you not, you signed the treaty, so why are we having these problems with our government not complying with the treaty? That's a bit how we are looking at it.
This law is obviously very good, especially for the farmers, the small-scale farmers in this region. So what are you doing, especially to convince the sitting members, the MPs there, to pass this bill?
We started this process in 2009. It's taken, it's a good, almost 5 years, so to speak. From EALA, looking at the East Africa Community Treaty, any laws that are being passed at the regional level have to go through the national, the states.
Yes.
Yeah. So this law has actually gone through all the 5 states. I think the Kenyan Parliament went through it. It came through the Regional Integration Committee. Then it went through the full plenary of Parliament, and we have the recording of that. It's gone through Uganda, it's gone through Tanzania, it's gone through Rwanda, and we have inputs from that process.
And Burundi?
In Burundi, they are still behind as far as cooperatives is concerned. In fact, when we met the minister, they were actually trying to put together a law on cooperatives. They have what we call a pre-cooperative law. And what the minister told us is that since there's this process by EAFF, they want to first put on hold their process, embrace our process until its final end in July. And then that will advise them in terms of the kind of law they're going to put across in Burundi. So we've now met more or less all the ministers of cooperatives who are in charge of cooperatives in the entire region. And we've actually discussed with them about the process.
Ultimately, what do you want to achieve in a few words?
We are saying that farmers are the biggest investors in agriculture. There's a huge opportunity as far as agriculture is concerned. I think the opportunities, surpass the challenges. If you look at it from a business point of view, you look at challenges as opportunities. So for us, the law, it will be helping farmers come together, run their own institutions, amalgamate and pull together resources. It's more or less like collective action. And this law is going to provide the platform through which farmers, as well as other cooperatives, will be able to pull together their product, process it, access credit, and actually access not only the national, but the regional market and the international markets.
In recent years, it has become widely recognized that growing more crops does not necessarily make farmers rich. Sometimes selling a crop and earning a good price for it can be even more difficult than growing it in the first place. Improving cooperatives can go a long way in ensuring this happens through the East Africa Community Cooperative Societies Bill. Stephen Mushiri, the Eastern Africa Farmers Federation Chief Executive Officer, brings us to the end of Agriculture for Life. For comments or questions, join us on our KBC English Service Facebook fan page. Till next week, my name is Geoffrey Onditi. Have a lovely night.